The 2 Cent Report!
And welcome once again to the 2 Cent Report, aka the Poverty Cast, with 1 Cent Justin and
1 Cent Tristan.
Together we are 2 cents. See, that's the joke. Anyway,
it's also our opinions.
So, pardon any kind of audio. We are recording very differently to usual. But we are the Poverty Cast, so we can get away with it. So it's fine. Don't think about it. It'll be fine. If you have any complaints, direct them to a gutter. Okay.
You can direct them to my bank account.
So, shall we get started?
Sure thing.
Now, very fun, hilarious news, in my graceful, beautiful opinion. A while back, we said that Disco Elysium was getting its final cut. Its big update, which I started then playing, and God, it's wonderful. But the final cut got banned in Australia. Because apparently...
What?
Oh yes, Australia is a beautiful country. According to them, it is too offensive to go on sale.
But Australia's always been like that. They've been banning things left, right, and center. I mean,
oh yes.
I mean, is GTA even available in Australia?
I
know they banned that when it first came out.
Yes, it is now. But I know, like, the one I remember, which was a big one from back in the day, was when Left 4 Dead came out. And the blood had to be changed to green blood because it wasn't people, it was, like, monsters.
I remember even further back, good old game Postal 2. That wasn't just banned in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, it was also like, Manhunt 2 is also like that. Now, okay, here's what they said. This is according to the Australian Classification Board, you know, like the people that say PG-13, those people.
Yes, Peggy.
And they said, yeah, basically, but it's the Australian one. And they say it was refused classification, so it hasn't been banned, but they refused to classify it, which means it's effectively banned. It says here, it is because it depicts, expresses, or otherwise deals with matters of sex, drug misuse or addiction, crime, cruelty, violence, or revolting or abhorrent phenomena in such a way that they offend against the standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults to the extent that they should not be classified.
Wow. Have they taken a look at their country yet?
So
I could say it. My country is even more third world.
now, this isn't the funniest story about this, though. My good Sir Tristan. Mm-hmm. The funniest thing is that yes, it has been banned. That hasn't stopped Steam from selling it in Australia.
That's amazing. I was just about to ask if the Steam store had already made that change.
Yeah, they were just like, no, we're not doing that. That's stupid.
Talk to the game publishers or the game developers. Don't talk to the store.
Yeah. So that's
we're just online. You guys need to change your region.
So that's just, you know, that's the usual fun nonsense. The
funny thing I find about banned games is that banned games are really the company's problem. It's not the consumer's problem, because if the consumer can't get the game through legal methods, you know what's going to happen. People will probably be playing Disco Elysium well into the ban with no problems. The thing is, once you pirate, the worst thing you could be called out for is a pirate. So you could, if they have a heavy sentence for that, sure. But that's all they're going to get you on, because you're essentially just pirating the game.
What's also wonderful is I saw in the comments section, someone said, I'd never heard of this game before, but I'm buying it now. Basically, as soon as they were like,
promoting
it's banned,
sales.
I want it.
What the hell?
So, you know, it never works. Don't ban things. It's pointless. So, that is Disco Elysium. So shall we move on to our second story?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Now, this is just because we always start off with some more fun stuff. So, an unopened box of the original Super Mario Brothers, as in the original, the OG one, it sold for $660,000, which is a new world record.
You know what? I've realized something. They've got nothing to show, really, in terms of impressing us with new games or anything. But Nintendo ends up on this list quite often with things about their products, except for the actual new products.
Well, because really, the latest real story out of Nintendo was that they released a new console. That was the last real news story.
Yeah.
There hasn't,
yeah, that's true.
And I suppose some people care about Zelda, so that Breath of the Wild. But I mean, other than that,
wasn't that ported to PC?
I don't think so. No, Nintendo never ports anything to PC. They hate PC people. They also hate They also hate YouTubers.
Oh no, fair enough. And again, they always seem to feature on our lists.
Well, I constantly made. I made God, what was it called? It was called. I wrote a piece in my blog. Let me just look up quickly what I called it, because it's still probably quite funny. Let's say Nintendo. Why do I hate Nintendo so much?
Oh, brilliant title.
No, shame. It's just because they're completely creatively bankrupt. That's all. Anyway, so that's our little Nintendo story. Shall we move on over to our next little thing?
Okay.
Now this one,
I hope it's follow up on some CEO news.
There hasn't really been much CEO business happening. Okay, well, I suppose there will be a bit later, but not yet. We're still doing fun, chill things. This particular one, just like last time with Hellsing, this one's probably mostly for me, because I can't remember whether or not you like or dislike the Resident Evil movies.
You know, they are definitely unique. Once you stop believing that they take part in the same universe as the game, I think, to me, the movies are pretty entertaining.
Oh, they're shit. I love them. They're like pure B-movie nonsense. I love it. And my favorite thing about it is that it has fuck all to do with the games. I like that they were like, we're going to make this character. She's not from the games. And she has superpowers. And she's better than all the characters from the games. Fuck you, Capcom. I love it. I find it hilarious.
Even like the thing is, the only thing I feel like it shares the same name with, that shares the same things, is the name, and like the beginning half of the first movie.
Yeah,
it comes to a bit of lore, and then it just like we're gonna go a completely different direction.
Yeah, well, basically, like, okay, the first one is the closest to the first game, and then the second one does take place in Raccoon City, but that's where the similarities end. That's about it. However, they've announced that because the Resident Evil movies with Alice ended, that they're doing a reboot, because the Resident Evil movies are they're one of the highest grossing film franchises. So obviously it's going to come back. The new one is going to be called Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which will be an adaptation of the first two games. Has nothing to do with the old movies. And according to them, they're going to be going for more of a horror, vibe, like the actual early games. Which I'm sure some people are like, oh, yay. And I'm like, but come on. Come on, that B-movie shit was beautiful. Why?
I mean, even I'm thinking of the same thing. Like, the horror aspect is kind of cool, but like, it really sinks in when you're the character. And obviously they can do that onto movies across that media. But I also feel like if you're going to make a game movie now, because there's no longer a movie based on the game. This is now a movie adapted from a game, if that makes sense. So in that respect, I'm thinking it should still have an entertainment value, because the problem with I have with movies is that once they get into a genre, they really flex that genre. Although there are movies that kind of blend genres and stuff, but I'm thinking, like, I don't want the movie to be too horror orientated, because then to me it's just another horror movie. But if I had a bit of that entertainment that you get out of playing the games, because the games aren't just horror, it's action. I mean, another great B movie was the Doom movie, where they also tried to kind of change up the whole thing, because you couldn't have demons, but even then it still retained a bit of its game-like entertainment, while stressing that it's a lot more dire than Doom and Doom 2.
I loved the Doom movie as well. It's also not a good movie, but it's very fun. It's also back when he was called just Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It was before it was just Dwayne Johnson, when he went all serious. I love that movie. I think it's terrible. But I really genuinely do like the first-person shooter sequence in it. Also, do you know that they made a second Doom movie?
No.
Oh, yeah. It was like a year or two ago.
I'm guessing none of the characters, even the main character, Carl Urban, I don't think he was in it.
I don't know one was in it. It was about demons, I believe. I didn't watch it. But it was one of those things. It's what studios sometimes do when, like, the IP is gonna expire, so they push out like cheap piece of shit, you know, and they don't market it. They don't send it to cinemas. They don't send it to critics. They don't send it to anyone. They're just like, here's a movie. Watch it if you want to.
But why? I mean, isn't that just a major waste of funding?
Well, I know that this is the way that some studios operate. The studios that make Sharknado operate like that. They just make tons and tons of really shitty movies that are really low budget, and they just need one of them to make money, and then they're fine. That was Sharknado for them.
Sharknado.
But they pump out like multiple movies a year that are all just shits, and like, you know, it'll be a movie that like the budget was like $500,000, which is, you know, in terms of budgets, that's fuck all.
I mean, like, in terms of living, $500,000 and I'm good for the rest of my life.
yeah. Well, that
poverty calls for the win.
But that's the thing. Whenever you look up the budgets of movies, and you'll be like, wow, they made this only on 12 million. Wow, that it looks really good for 12 million. And you're like, God, if I had 12 million, I would also look good.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I always think that the production cost, yes, that is big time, because if a movie, the quality depends on the production. Now, you could say that hiring brand new actors that haven't really done anything to deserve such a high price role would be cheaper, yes, but you're also going to have a lack in acting unless you find that diamond in the rough that then blows up and becomes one of those very expensive actors.
Yeah.
Actresses. Actrons.
Actrons.
To just fit everybody in there, you know. And then, so looking at it like that, the production costs are like crazy. But then you look at some of the stuff that is coming out on YouTube, some just passion projects. You're looking at the ability, like people go, oh yeah, special effects and stuff. You look at the ability of what Blender can do. Just Blender. Because Blender in itself is a one kind of application fits all. Apart from audio, from what I know. But when it comes to visuals and stuff, Blender can do it. 2D, 3D, live action, it can do it. And it's free. Now you're looking at that. So now down goes the prices that's added on for software licenses. All right. You're obviously still going to have the prices for copywriting and advertisement. That's going to be, but it should be the most of your budget if you're looking at it from that point of view. If you're somebody that has the passion project and able to make someone's salary off of it, and there you go. If you're able to make more than someone's salary, then you hire someone to make your life easier. But these big production companies, they have a lot, you know. They've got to pay the rent of the building that they're in. They've got to pay the salaries of all their staff. Even if the staff members contributes a little bit, the staff members getting paid monthly, not per project. Then you got to think about all the temporary staff that you hire per project. And it's just, and especially with props and stuff, animation is cheapest. Live action is the most expensive in my mind, because live action does require a whole nother department, the props department, the makeup department, the lighting department. You get a studio to make a 3D animation, and that's all handled within the studio. And you could have the same guy that's busy modeling a chair, who will then later on be helping setting up lighting or setting up scenes. So I think a studio production is cheaper than a proper movie, but then you got to also think about the money you're paying on the audio and stuff like that. So back to what I was saying, it is expensive, but they could. I think it's overinflated. Like, people are paying too much money to get the production done.
Well, something that I think a lot of people don't really know about, this is especially like game development is a big thing here. This was years ago. I read a report where more than half of AAA, when it comes to big budget stuff, not like indie stuff, indie's different. When it comes to the big budget game development, more than half of it is marketing costs. And marketing is expensive. Because if you want to do the full shebang. In South Africa, you don't really see many ads for games. Well, I mean, I don't have a TV. But, they pay for YouTube ads. They probably pay for billboard ads. They pay for TV ads in other countries. They pay for, these big showcases, these various, events and stuff like that. That's all part of marketing. So, and I mean, films are the same. Films also have huge marketing costs and stuff. That's why you'll get some indie film that was made on a budget of $10,000, and then you get some, like the big Marvel ones would be like 200 million, 300 million to make one of those, and you're like, well, that was a lot of marketing because that shit was everywhere.
Yeah, but I think the marketing is also to make it aware so everybody knows it's coming out. No one could possibly miss that this movie is coming out. So they shove it in every corner that they can across the world, letting you know that this movie is coming out.
Yeah. And
that's all great because obviously if they don't, some people that might watch it will miss it. Some people that that don't even know they want to watch this movie will miss it.
I think that's... Yeah.
No, you can go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's also why it is amazing why, for instance, with small indie games, for instance, that somehow strike it big, like an Undertale or a Stardew Valley, when you're everyone knows them, but they're little indies because that had no marketing. It was all just word of mouth.
You say that, but that's the difference between I would say between movies and games. Series and online streaming have a similar thing to games, but when it comes to Hollywood blockbusters and games, it's different. Yeah. Because we have Epic and Steam. I'm not even going to mention Origin. I'm not going to even mention Ubisoft, the Uplay store. Then there's the Sony store, and then the Xbox store with the Xbox Live content. Now, the reason why I mentioned is that when you go into Steam, when you open up Steam, you see, boom, straight in front of you, the latest ads that pop up. And then after that, once you've closed that ads down, there's still a recommended or the best games, the best featuring games, which will then show that to you as well. And then, as you said, it's word of mouth that, oh, have you played this game? Oh, it's on Steam. Now, Steam has already made it accessible to everyone. So, if you hear it, and here comes another big thing, if you hear it, you want to play it, right? And there's no bigger place than, for that logic, if you hear it, then you want to play it, is YouTube. Let's Plays are what gets indie games sold.
Yeah.
Watching some YouTuber play the game and you go, I want to play that game. I don't have to wait for it to release in my country. It's on the Steam store or it's on an app store. Then I can go and purchase it right now to play it. That is the biggest thing now with series and movies. I don't know if anybody makes let's watches of movies or series, but it's the same thing. You go into Netflix, and the first thing, if you're not getting spam with notifications, because I have it on my phone as well, so I get spam with notifications. Then I get on, and then their main feature is right in front of you, and below that are all their new movies or latest editions. And even then, you're still getting that initial, every single time you go onto the app that you want to watch something on, or you want to do something on, you're getting advertised.
Yeah.
Whereas movies, the only way to do that would be with TV or watching YouTube. But everybody turns off YouTube adverts. Let's not joke about that. If you're still using YouTube adverts, it's free. It's called Ad Blocker. Use it. It also works on your phone. Please stop watching YouTube adverts. This is insanity.
Although with YouTube ads, they have gotten a bit
demonetized.
They've gotten a bit smarter with YouTube ads though. YouTube ads are no longer more than 5 seconds. They're like,
oh yes, of course,
80-90% of them are just 5 seconds, so you get the whole ad and then it's done. It is always funny to me because I don't care enough to have ad block, and every now and then it's actually really funny. Every now and then you get something weird as an ad, and this is actually why I love it, because it'll be someone who has because you can advertise your own videos. You can like make a video an ad, and then it forces people to watch it before you watch your video. And I've gotten the weirdest music videos come up, usually bad. Or I have also gotten ones where it's straight up just like a sermon, like a religious sermon. And you look at the video and it says it's like 6 minutes long. And you're like, oh my God, this is wonderful. Someone thought, you know what? I need to reach people with the word of the Lord. So I'm going to try to inconvenience random gamers trying to watch a playthrough of something. And
the thing is,
I'll just put some 6-minute video as an ad.
But the problem with that is that you love to bathe or indulge yourself in the filth of humanity.
I do, it's hilarious.
And no better place to get it than online advertisements.
Exactly.
Now, my problem here is that we've grown up with television, right?
Yeah.
I know when a show will take a block. I know when a show will take a block, right? And in that block, they'll shove 5-6 ads, and then they will put it in at the beginning half of the show, the midpoint, and just at the end. I've been through that. I've seen the adverts, right? That's when advertisements were super creative. I feel like YouTube adverts are super corporate, or they're trying to give off this thing that everything is fine with our product. And I know that's the latest trend in advertising worldwide, but I don't like the trend. You know, I don't like the current trend of adverts. There are certain times where I think, okay, adverts are nice. Adverts before movies, that when you sit in the cinema, that's needed.
The thing is, those aren't adverts; those are trailers for other movies.
Are you sure? Because the last time I went to the cinema before COVID, they had an MTN advert.
Okay, I actually do remember having ones for like there always be telecom adverts where it's like, you should upgrade to LTE. But it's mostly movie trailers. It is mostly, these movies are coming up. You should watch them.
No, fair enough. It's just that I feel like adverts, for me, no. I will switch them off. I'll watch my YouTube, and if anybody wants to bitch about how people are, I'm stealing money from people, and people aren't making enough money because I'm not watching their adverts, then I say fine, because you reach me on the worst possible platform, so you don't deserve my money.
Well, I do know that from like a lot of the YouTubers I watch, they generally they don't have subscribers in the millions, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I get like $30 from YouTube. They have Patreon. That's how you make your money.
Yeah, I think Patreon is more respectful.
And sponsorships.
Yeah, Patreon, and then there's also another one that I can't remember, but I think that's more respectful because then you're not. I feel like with YouTube, when you watch ads, you're not like sure YouTube gives the content creators money, but it really just filling YouTube's pockets. But when you're on Patreon, yeah, Patreon also takes a small bit of that money, but
small bit.
Feels like you. Yes, but it feels like you are actually paying the content creators instead of helping YouTube get more money.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely understand. Yeah, no, I agree. It's the same with like sponsorships. Sponsorships, all of that money goes to the creator. Yeah, you have to watch their sponsorship thing, but some creators tend to be really interesting with how they do their little sponsorships. They tend to be quite funny. I recently started listening to, it's quite new. It's absolutely glorious. There is a Twitter account called the Tweet of God.
What?
Glorious. Don't you know the Tweet of God?
No, not at all.
The Tweet of God is God, Tristan. Okay? And he's on Twitter. And he just talks shit about people. And he says things like, it's amazing how many of you believe I exist. Says things like that. But recently he started a podcast.
Just someone taking the piss.
But recently he started a podcast called The Godcast. And he interviews people from history, mostly. Like Moses, who was played by David Cross. He seems to get some pretty high-level people. But, like, he does really, really funny ads because he's God. So he'll be like, I'm going to do this ad in monster truck style. And then it's like, are you ready for erection pills? Something like that.
Oh, God.
So
there's that's my second gripe, but I know we're getting off topic thinking about Resident Evil reboot movie, and we ended here complaining about adverts. But if there's one thing that I will watch is content creator plug. That I will watch because I'm watching you, and if you need the money so badly to advertise Raid Shadow Legends, who am I to complain?
None of my people do. My people advertise things like there's that one, it's like a nature documentary thing. There's like that masterclass one. You see, I don't even remember their names. I'm very bad at this.
You're very bad.
Sponsors, you can hire me to be your spokesperson. So, we should probably move on because we've been griping about nonsense. This is definitely on my side of things. I don't really care, but it's a PlayStation thing. So they decided a while back they were going to make a Last of Us TV show. And I was like, I don't care. But, you know, fine, it will be a zombie thing. Well, I mean, their version of zombies. And I think it's also got, like, the writer of the games is also involved, so it's a bit better. But they then made this statement saying that the Last of Us show will deviate from the games. And there were a couple of people who were very much like, oh, how dare they? How dare they deviate from the games? And I was like, I don't care. And that's the full extent of the story.
I actually think that'll be pretty interesting. The problem is you don't, with it being a PlayStation exclusive, you don't want to show people the story. Sure, you can watch a Let's Play on YouTube again, but moving away from YouTube, you don't want to make it so that people can just watch the story that everybody is raving about. You want them to play it. So you're going to make something that's just as good or maybe a little bit worse, so that if people bitch about it, then you're going to have people go, oh yeah, the game was better, getting more interest into the game and more people playing it. Still won't buy a PlayStation though.
What I think they should do, because this has always been my thing about this, I'm like, you know what? You can make movies based on games. It's fine. You don't have to adapt the direct story. You can just set it in the same world. If they were going to make a Fallout movie, I wouldn't want it to be based on any of the games. I'd want to be like, make something interesting in the fucking world that's made for a movie. It's a great world. You can do cool things with the world.
Oh my god.
Like The Last of Us.
If they had to make a Fallout movie, I'm half expecting the full creation engine bugs and fixes. Like, there must be a reference. Like, it might be something so small. Like they're talking and the character puts a cup down onto something, and also the cup fucks off into the universe. And then like it's never addressed. Like it just fucks off, and the guy just carries on talking, and you can see like the main character, the protagonist, just like, okay, what just happened? And then nothing else is said. That's it. That's the whole reference. The NPC or other support characters don't mention it. The main character kind of mentions it, but like notices it, but doesn't actually react to it.
Well,
and it's just something that's given.
Yeah, I would actually say don't respond to it at all. Just act as if this is normal. Or like, he shoots someone and the person's head just fucking explodes like it does with VATS. Just like ridiculous. And you see the eyes and the brain going in different directions. And you're like, cool. This is how it works in real life. Fuck it. Why not?
Or like, you get it from like a bandit's perspective, and they see someone and they're like, okay, we're going to ambush him. Just as he gets into that exact spot, we're going to ambush him. And then the main character comes just before it, and then looks at his Pip-Boy, and then the guy's like, oh, we should go get him. And then the other guy's like, oh, no, wait, not ready yet. Wait until he's done. Okay, he's done. Let's go get him. Like, it must just be like just a small nod to it coming from a game that is as buggy as it seems. Like, there could be this rolling joke that maybe the main character, the protagonist, isn't so self-aware. Their perception isn't that high. So at random, there'll be random people that would pop up behind him and be like, shit, oh hi, how you doing?
Or you could also have things where he tries to do a speech check, and the person is just like, no, and starts shooting him.
Do you know who they should get for that? Let me just get his name here. The person that should play the Fallout character, although he's a bit old now. But, I mean, who knows? Sometimes old people make great comebacks when they have these things. Let me just see here. Can't believe I forgot this man's name.
It's disgusting.
I know, it's so terrible, even though...
This is what happens. These people forget things, and you go... Ugh.
Oh, there we go.
Animators.
Nathan Fillion.
Oh, Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes. Imagine they had him as the Vault Dweller.
No, that would be perfect. It could actually be quite interesting if you made a movie based on a game that was made in the style of Hardcore Henry. If you ever watched Hardcore Henry.
I loved Hardcore Henry. When I saw it, I was like, this movie is just what I need at that time when I needed it. I saw it and I was like, okay, let's watch it. And then I'm like, oh, it's from his perspective. It can't be that all the movie is from his perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Like, oh my god, it's from his perspective. And then the South African dude shows up and you're like, hey,
I know, right?
What are you doing here?
He was great in it. I love him. I've seen him in a couple things, and he's great.
No, he's awesome.
Shelter Copley. No, he's great. Vickers van der Merwe. So, shall we?
Also, he's the crazy.
In
A-Team dude.
The crazy one.
In the A-Team?
Yes, yeah, in the A-Team.
In the A-Team.
He's actually also, I don't know if you ever watched a series called Powers.
Powers.
It's not about Austin.
I don't think I have. What a disappointment.
Yeah, I know, right? It's actually quite interesting. It's like a world in which some people, not everyone, some people are born with superpowers, and then they become superheroes. But because, when you think about in real life, how the fuck does a superhero make money? Sponsorships. So they'll be like sponsored by Nike. And they'll
So they're like athletes.
Basically, yeah. So that they'll like fight crime, and then they'll be like, and I wouldn't be able to get through the day without Coca-Cola Light. Taste the better things in life. Like that. It's quite dark.
Plug.
It's great. So, shall we proceed to the next of the stories?
Yes.
This one's a bit interesting because it's a story that isn't a story. It's weird. So Discord, as in the app,
that we are
using, and for those who don't know, well, if you're a gamer, you probably know what Discord is. It's a fucking messaging app, mostly aimed at gamers, and
I prefer communications platform.
Messaging app, but okay. You can have servers and shit, so I suppose it's more of a communication app thing.
It's a community.
It's a community device, which is less toxic than Twitter. So Discord has decided to say, we're perhaps looking for a buyer. Who wants to buy us? We're charging $10 billion. And Microsoft, having just bought Bethesda for 7.5, was like, maybe we should buy Discord.
If they do, then they can completely overhaul their Xbox Live community, wada. Because seriously, I mean, I've used it, it worked fine, but it's not Discord. But then there would also be there are certain servers on Discord that are only used for certain things, and if Microsoft gets it, I feel like, I mean, they already own Skype. You don't want Discord ending up like Skype, or eventually Discord's going to disappear, Skype's going to disappear.
Well,
and you're going to get
that's the thing.
Dyke.
That's the thing people pointed out. People were like, "Listen, Microsoft fucked up Skype when the whole world was like, we need a platform that we can communicate with each other during a global pandemic." And then suddenly this fucking thing called Zoom just appears, and it's like, wow, Skype fucked up their chance of going big. Like, I'd never fucking heard of Zoom a year ago. Well, like a year and a bit ago.
I think the thing with Zoom, right? I think what Zoom did well is that it didn't go for, like, Skype had the business half of it. A lot of businesses that I know use Skype to communicate. Now, they have the businessy half, and like no one. I don't know if people still use Skype for actual personal means, like that's not business, or contacting someone you don't know. Like, I don't think people chat and give video calls on Skype because, you know, Facebook's WhatsApp does that for you now, so you don't need Skype. And what I feel about that is that Zoom came in and it didn't go, oh, here's school kids, here's an app for you to do school over, or hey, what's it? Hey, big corporations, you want meetings? I've got the app. It went to the people that have the money that are paying everybody else. It went to the parents. It went to the how do I say? It went to the more accessible institutions like your schools, your small businesses. It went there, and then everybody just hopped on because, first of all, it worked, and second of all, you didn't have to have it installed to run a session. Skype you have to have installed. Discord Discord you don't, but I know Skype you have to have installed because it comes with every Windows machine.
Yeah.
And with Zoom, I think they targeted the right target market, and because they first made sure that the damn thing worked before advertising it, I think they just get a like. It's that moment when somebody is addressing a group and they go, "Does anybody have any ideas or any questions?" That first person that put up their hand was probably Zoom. It may not have been a good idea or good question, but the fact is they were the first person to answer to it.
Yeah. Well, I still remember back in the day the jokes about Skype. Is that the main thing you say on Skype is, "Can you hear me? Hello?" That was Skype.
That is still my experience with most VoIP applications.
Yeah. I think things have gotten better.
Oh no, much better. You only fade out sometimes now. I don't feel the need to ask if you can hear me, because eventually you're gonna come back and you're gonna betray, and I'm gonna just act like, oh yeah, I heard what you said.
Yeah.
No problem. GG.
But I remember Skype from like the early 2000s, and that was difficult is a word. I hated it so much. My gran would always speak to my uncle because he was in the UK, and yeah, oh Justin, you want to come say hello? And then I'd stand there and the camera would just be paused, and he'd be going, hello, hello, hello. Can you hear? I don't think you can hear us. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
hello.
But that's like that's super early. I didn't use Skype until I didn't use Skype until I actually graduated from college.
Yeah, I only...
Once I had my diploma, that's when I used Skype.
Yeah.
If I need to talk to anybody over the internet, I use TeamSpeak.
Yeah, well, the only reason was because of my gran and because of my uncle in UK, and we would go on Skype. It was horrible. There was also dial-up times. That was during dial-up.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so that's the proper old school time. But anyway, about this Discord thing, the reason I said it might be not a story at all is because Discord also said we might also just go public instead. So they might just become a publicly traded company rather than being owned by someone. So either they're going to sell or they're going to have shares. One or the other.
It depends where they want to go, you know? If they do, if they want to sell, it means that they don't actually know where they want to go, or they just need the funding to go where they want to go.
That was actually what they said. Yes. They said specifically, we don't want to go with someone who wants to change our, vision.
Yeah.
We have a thing we want to do. Don't fuck with our thing.
Microsoft and Facebook are looking like, would be nice.
Exactly.
Because let's be honest, Facebook is probably the next big potential buyer in this case when it comes to these kind of applications.
Yeah. I constantly find it hilarious talking to my students because my students are like, oh no, but Facebook's boring. I'm like, Facebook fucking owns WhatsApp and Instagram. And they'll be like, what? And I'm like, yes, God, they own everything. They're huge. Don't think that you don't have Facebook, because you do.
You have Facebook, and you can't uninstall it from an Android phone. Well, you can, but it's always going to be there. I know that my Android phone disables it. It doesn't uninstall it.
That's quite
the same.
Mine doesn't have Facebook. I had to download it, which I then deleted because I don't like Facebook.
I said Android phone.
I was making a comparison.
Android.
Snarky little bitch. So, I know the topic that you love the most out of any topic. It is our next topic. Your favorites.
Don't disappoint me.
BioWare.
Disappointed.
BioWare is
immediately disappointed.
They're in the news again because after
God.
The only news now is pretty much we already know that they stopped development of Anthem. We spoke about that last time, but now the director of Anthem is like, cool, ciao bitches, and he's left. So high profile people are leaving.
And nothing new.
So
and let's be honest here. Let's be honest. What the fuck was he gonna do if he stayed?
Yeah.
Seriously, what is it they literally cut his project. There's nothing for him to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Shame.
I mean,
poor boy.
It's not much news. I mean, eventually BioWare for me I'm going to stop looking at BioWare and start talking about people from BioWare that did a good job, and I'm going to praise them. You know,
yeah.
I'm no longer going to say BioWare is a great company.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, BioWare mostly, they have their whole BioWare magic thing where they just crunch people. So, they're also a piece of shit company.
But the thing is, the BioWare magic didn't come from the visuals. It didn't come from the gameplay, let's be honest. Mass Effect 1. Dragon Age Origins.
I've never cared for any of their gameplay.
It came from the way they integrated the story and the characters into the game. That's the magic. That's why people rave about Knights of the Old Republic. Go play Knights of the Old Republic. The gameplay is shit, but you're there for the story and the characters.
I actually played it. I can check. I replayed it not that long ago. Let me check. I played it last year. Is it just called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic or just Knights of the Old Republic? Okay, it's called Star Wars. Yeah, I played it back in July. So I played it again. And I loved it. And yes, the gameplay is shit.
But you loved it because of the story, right?
Yeah.
And of the way the characters... And that's the BioWare magic.
Yeah.
That's the magic that carries all of the games, because that's always what people talk about. No one talks about Old Republic, even though that is a BioWare game.
I always forget that it is one.
Because, yeah. What's the other BioWare game? Let me just make sure I'm getting this right before I embarrass myself on the internet again. Let me just make sure that this is a right assumption. Damn, I need to make sure that I know that this is made by the right company. Now it's stressful because, some games, they chop and change developers. There we go. One of the developers for Baldur's Gate.
Oh, really?
It's BioWare.
Huh.
Yes. That's why I had to make sure. There's a lot listed here. There's BioWare, Snowblind Studios, Magic Pockets, Black Owl Studios, Half Voltage Software, Beamdog, and Lyrian Studios. And I think Lyrian Studios is the ones that made the third one, if I'm not mistaken. Publishers and developers, yeah. But BioWare had their hand in Baldur's Gate as well.
Yeah.
So it's really forgettable when you think about BioWare games and you're not thinking about the early Star Wars games they made and the sci-fi games. That's the ones that really hit the news. But we're not thinking of the Jade Empire. Have you heard of the Jade Empire?
I know the Jade Empire. I never played it, but I know it.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you heard of Shattered Steel?
Also, heard of it, never played it.
Neverwinter Nights.
Okay, that's a bit more of a famous one though. Neverwinter Nights.
Hordes of the Underdark.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Oh no, you got to be kidding me. Have you heard of Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood on Nintendo DS?
Is that BioWare?
That's BioWare.
But
that is a developed by BioWare game.
Here's the thing. To me, BioWare, I think, cemented its place with the release of Mass Effect 1.
I think it already shocked the world with Knights of the Old Republic. And then, but people were like, okay, maybe they're just riding on the Star Wars expanded universe, right? Maybe they're just riding on the big Star Wars. When they went to Mass Effect, there was no LucasArts. There was no any other influence, but it's their universe, it's their game. They weren't taking from anywhere else but themselves. Obviously, they referenced and they sampled a whole lot of things from a whole lot of other games, but it was uniquely theirs. It wasn't riding off the fame of Star Wars. It wasn't riding off medieval fantasy, and it was certainly not riding off Sonic. My God, I can't believe that they developed Sonic. A Sonic game.
That's interesting.
Oh, right. Whose bills had to be paid? It was developed in the 25th of September 2008 was the release date for it. And it's got a 4.1 rating here. So whatever they're doing, they did something well. Well, whatever they're doing, BioWare's always had this if you ask me what does BioWare make, or any random person, if they know their games, they'll know. Okay, BioWare makes Mass Effect.
Yeah, and Dragon Age.
And Dragon Age, exactly. And
KOTOR.
If they know a little bit more, exactly.
Yeah.
You know think, did you know they made Sonic the Hedgehog game, or any other one that I mentioned, or they had their hand in Baldur's Gate, or hey, they've got a MMO Star Wars game. Nobody fucking cares.
It is kind of also like, it reminds me of like, say, with Rockstar. When I say, what does Rockstar make? You would immediately say
GTA, Bully.
Well, immediately most people would just
Red
say
Dead Redemption.
Most people would just say GTA and Red Dead Redemption, but there's also Bully. They made the Warriors. They made Midnight Club, and people don't really.
The thing is, the Warriors, right? I enjoyed that game.
I loved it.
I only enjoyed that game because I enjoyed that movie, because I remember my uncle had brought it over to watch with my family, but we didn't get to it because my family are a bunch of drunkards. So he said, "No, I'll leave it here." Everybody that wasn't drinking was me, because I was too young. They all passed out. I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie, and I watched it, and I was like, this is a great movie. And then when the game came out, my uncle's like, "Oh, I got the game. You want to play it?" So I went over to his house. I played the game. And I was like, this is so satisfying. This is exactly what I wanted from that movie to be made into a game. It was like exactly what I wanted them to make a game for.
I've got a random one here that I don't think you would know. Because they like to do a thing where they test out concepts on other games before putting it into their main GTA game. So like they wanted to create a new shooting system, which they then implemented into GTA 5, but they first made Max Payne 3, which was like their trial run of shooting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. However, before they did GTA 4, they were like, we have a new engine called the Rage engine, and we want to test it out on something first. So they made a game that you would never, ever associate ever in your life with Rockstar. They made...
Yes.
Can you guess it? Do you know it?
I know that Rockstar made Midnight Club. I remember that as well. That was a big one for me because I enjoyed Midnight Club 3. There was this one game that I heard about them having their hands in, but I'm not sure if I'm correct. I don't think it's a game, more of an app, but it's a music mixer.
Nope, it's not that one.
Which one is it?
What's also funny about it is that it's the only Rockstar game I know of that has the name Rockstar in the title, and it's called Rockstar Presents Table Tennis.
What, to work on a physics engine?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was basically their whole. You know the way. Did you play GTA 4?
Yes.
GTA 4 was the first one that had, like, when your character's, like, say, running, and you turn a corner, their whole body kind of responds. Rather than, like, if you look at older games, the body doesn't actually conform to gravity. It doesn't really move with physics. It just moves in a direction. You know, physics works around it, but not on the actual character model. So they did that. And that was with table tennis. Also, like, the way the clothes move on the character and stuff like that. That was for table tennis.
I'm just currently taking a look at Rockstar games, and I think I found a gem that is just. I mean, like, they also had their hand in Earthworm Jim.
Really?
But yes, 3D. They had their hand in that, but they were publishers for that. And then the most interesting one is Austin Powers, Welcome to My Underground Lair.
I did not know that there was. I didn't know there was an Austin
Yes.
Powers game.
This is Rockstar publishing it for the Game Boy Color.
That's fascinating. When was this?
This game was, like, the reviews are amazing. This game was released on the 17th of September 2000. It's got on IGN. It's got a 3 out of 10 rating.
That's fascinating. That's great. I love it.
Apparently, it's a multiplayer video game.
Also, it is funny how we have moved very, very far from we were talking about what were we talking about last? BioWare.
Yeah, it's what you do to me. It's what this. See, we can't afford to pay attention.
No, we can't.
So we have to. Yeah, they're gonna bring out that oldie.
Exactly.
So we're gonna have to now.
Okay.
Try our best.
Okay. We have now a bunch of interconnected stories, or at least stories I have forced to be interconnected. Are you ready?
Yes.
Microsoft has decided to do some preservation, which is always nice to see. They have announced a new thing. It's a beta at the moment called the Xbox Cloud Gaming Beta. And it has so far 16 games. So it's not that many games yet, but it's games from the original Xbox, the original Xbox One, and the Xbox 360. And so now these are going to be available on Android devices via the Xbox Game Pass. So like old games are just going to be a bit more available, which is nice.
It's nice, but it's ew at the same time. Unless I can hook up a controller to my mobile device, my Android device, I think that's very ew.
Oh no, but it'll be available on Xbox Game Pass, which means also on PC.
Yes,
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
that I completely agree with.
Yeah, it's actually a couple of things. I mean, they list a couple of things here, and these are not actually things necessarily that you would associate with Xbox, but now they own things. So Banjo-Kazooie, Fable 2, Fallout New Vegas, Perfect Dark, Morrowind. That's quite an interesting set of things. And I just thought, it's good to see some nice backward compatibility stuff. So that's lovely.
So someone's going to be able to play Morrowind on their mobile device.
Yes.
Ew.
You know that you can play the GTA games on they're on Google Play and the App Store.
I know, but the main problem with that I have, right, is when you put a first person game on mobile. Now, there are people that play mobile first person.
I don't know how.
We're looking at Warzone.
I don't know how.
Right? They've managed it. Now, my biggest problem with this is that Warzone was a game developed to work on mobile. Right? Morrowind is a game that was developed to work. There are some interesting aspects about Morrowind that I feel may cause them to put too much UI on the mobile device, because you only got so much screen. Now you got to move around. Unless they're gonna overhaul the inventory system, and Morrowind also has a magic creator where you can create your own magic spells, and it's all great and well, but I can't imagine trying to beat the living shit out of a cliff racer, for instance, that swoops down on you, and all of a sudden I'm opening up menus and closing the application because this thing just came out of nowhere.
Well, I think I do some mobile gaming stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of mobile gaming, but with pretty much all of them, they all have controller support. So with a lot of these, you do get controller support. I personally do not know why you would want to play like a big RPG on a mobile device, but fuck, power to you. If that's what you want to do your thing.
No, I fully agree with you in that regard. Like, if they have controller support, I'm 100% there. I will not I will not beat the mobile players down. I'm just saying because I don't like mobile UI. Now, I'm sure people who play mobile games would definitely will feel more comfortable playing it if they could buy like a attachment, a USB or Bluetooth attachment that they can attach their mobile devices to and play it. My problem is I went from the most complicated control scheme, right? I went from keyboard. I tried a little bit of joystick. I tried a little bit of they had this keyboard / gaming pad that only incorporated keys that you need in games. I've tried that. Then I went on to then consoles came out, so it was like consoles. Okay, fine. The controllers, the schemes were nice. I got used to it, and I got used to that. Now you're going to mobile. Now it's like bare minimum of space that I can move my thumbs in. And if I move my thumb too much, I'm going to hit something that's going to mess up my whole game.
Yeah.
And I think I have a problem with that. So well done to Microsoft and Xbox with doing this this feature. I think it's amazing. And I understand not everybody has a computer or a console. But just there's certain games where you kind of just go, oh, that's going to be difficult on mobile.
Yeah. I think that's why, because whenever I look at these mobile games, the Apple Arcade ones, a lot of them are like they're designed for a phone. And when you're designed for a phone, it's great. It's great. It works fine because it's designed for it. I cannot fathom playing any first-person game, like a first-person shooter, on a phone. I have seen my students do it. I don't know how. Because I'm like, you're using imaginary analog sticks on the screen. And I'm like, no. It feels cuck. I don't like it. But, I think this is also for, like, young people. They are able to use a screen for literally everything. They're amazing with phones. They were raised on them. We only got them, like, after we graduated high school.
Some of us got it before high school, just so you know.
But
I understand.
Did you have a smartphone, or did you have a BlackBerry?
I actually had a smartphone.
Oh, okay. I
had the Samsung Star.
Do you remember a phone I had when we were in high school? It had a stylus.
Yes, yes, I remember that. Oh,
now that's
old. I remember that phone. I made fun of you because that phone was heavy.
It was.
Like, despite what it looked like, that phone had a weight to it.
Yeah. Like, I'm still like, would that be considered a smartphone? I don't know. Maybe. But
I think more of like a PDA that can call.
Yeah, kind of. Anyway. So that was Microsoft and preservation.
Well done.
Not to be outdone, we will now talk about Sony and preservation. A group that is not Sony, Project Deluge, is actually quite confusing. It's either called Project Deluge or The Hidden Palace, or The Hidden Palace belongs to Project Deluge, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's one of those names. They managed to find some random dude who, for some reason, had a whole bunch of PS2 prototypes and demos that had never been released. These are like the things that you would play at E3 and PAX. And like original, like the, when they make a demo reel to send to like the publishers to try and get money. Those have been somehow rescued, and it's 752 prototypes and demos, nearly 900 gigs of data. And it was some random guy who happened to have all of this. And now they've put it all up online so you can check it all out. It's things like the E3 prototype of Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of Cortex, E3 prototype of Shadow of Colossus, prototypes of Dino Stalker, Dragon's Lair 3D.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, to find a gold mine like that, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Not that I'd play any of them.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But that's absolutely amazing that we're able to archive some of our history, some of our very early, just before the big boom.
Yeah.
Where corporations were like, whoa, we can make money.
But it's fucking awesome. Now, time to bring this cool stuff down, because this was a group that was not affiliated with Sony. So while this group that was not affiliated with Sony was doing cool things, Sony decided, you know what we should do? We should shut down the PSP, PS3, and PS Vita storefronts. And we're also going to... Well, they didn't actually shut it down. They said, we are going to shut it down.
PSP.
I know, right? This is old school. Now, mostly the PSP and PS3 sections of this, that's, not as big a deal because they're old. However, there are still developers developing for the PS Vita. And they were not informed ahead of time that the storefront was being pulled down.
So Sony pulled the Google.
Yep. They were some wonderful people.
That is terrible. What is going on? Do I smell another CEO going down? I doubt it.
So that was pretty much, Microsoft did some nice preservation, some Sony people did some nice preservation, and then Sony itself was like, nah, screw it.
Just cancel.
Very disappointing.
But we know Sony doesn't like to archive anything. Doesn't like to keep things going if it's not, the tender levels are profitable.
Yeah, it's very irritating. Anyway. Now, earlier you had mentioned CEOs. Kind of have something of a CEO talk, in a sense, because it's an investor call. So, the CEO was involved. So, CD Projekt Red. Them peeps who done mades the Cyberpunks and the Witchers. Now, they did an investor call, speaking to their quite angry investors, who were maybe not so happy about, the game not being particularly well received.
Well, let's talk about the same investors who are like, people want the game, why isn't it ready yet?
Yeah.
Investors.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
but
they can go shut the fuck up and suck on some dick, and then hopefully let CD Projekt Red do what they need to do.
Well, what they said, they were like, cool, so we think we're getting closer to the game re-releasing on PlayStation, because it was removed from PlayStation, if you know about that.
I do.
It was pulled by Sony, which, slightly orkies. So they were like, no, we think it's closer. Also, we have now decided we are going to be working on multiple AAA projects at a time. So we're not only working on one at a time. So we can, won't have such long gaps in between our major releases. Because, it was 5 years.
Oh, God. Oh, no. This sounds bad.
Well, that basically just said that. And they said that, listen, we want to be able to work on Witcher stuff and Cyberpunk stuff, and also we were going to be making a standalone Cyberpunk multiplayer thing, but now it's just going to be kind of, I suppose, a DLC. But yeah, so CD Projekt Red still things aren't looking great, but it's fine, it's adequate.
No, that's horrible news. Do you know what that immediately tells me? Quality is going to tank, because if that one studio couldn't produce Cyberpunk, then the entirety of that studio couldn't do a good enough job with the investors and the customers breathing down their necks while trying to do it. Now, can you imagine announcing a Witcher 4 while working on Cyberpunk? Still.
Well, one of the things was that within something like a week of something like that, they had made back their budget for Cyberpunk. So, they have the money to maybe hire more people.
No, they have the money, but hiring people it's not the same. You can't just batch hire people. They need to be integrated into the art style, the culture,
they have
the processes.
They have actually just bought up. They did also buy up one of the studios that was working with them, a studio in Vancouver. They bought them up, and they're being rebranded as CD Projekt Vancouver. So maybe that will take some of the pressure off, perhaps. Hopefully. But
yes, but if this studio was helping them with Cyber, you understand what I'm trying to get at here. Is that splitting the studio in half, right, is one thing. But now you're going to have a very big problem where either you're going to have to hire and train staff that keeps the quality as tight as possible, or you're going to cave. You're going to cave to the demands, and you're going to try and produce things at a freaking Assassin's Creed speed. And the problem it's going to have is that quality is going to drop. Either if they can pull a miracle out of this, if they can say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do it. They have a plan and they pull it off and it's amazing. Definitely. Then I don't know about it, so I can't say anything. But there's only two ways you're going to go about this, and from my perspective. And the one way is a drop in quality because you've separated the staff, or you've taken the full amount off, or you're going to have it a drop in quality because you hired or brought on more staff. Now, this does include outsourcing, which is I'm terrified of when it comes to CD Projekt Red, because outsourcing is really not a good idea for their kind of products, especially after all the data breaches and stuff. Now they're gonna put their livelihood in another studio's hands, kind of thing. And I know that there are some studios that have a really good relationship with their outsourcing studios and they get things done, but at the same time, I'm worried that there's going to be a drop in quality. I'm worried that focusing on too much because people are getting greedy. I think that's it's terrible. It's not going to make a good impact on the overall quality. More content, as you know, doesn't always mean better quality. It just means there's more stuff to complain about.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that studio they're buying up in Vancouver was one of their outsourcing studios. So what was an outsourced studio is now a actual CD Projekt studio. So maybe that helps a bit. Although I think they were mostly involved in the art side, not the programming development side, which is where the problems were. But yeah,
like I said, art. You'll never. When I started, I was always told that art is what keeps the code behind. If the coders do not have the art, then they're just waiting on the art, and the art is stopping the production. I tell you now, there's never a problem with art when a game releases. There's always bug problems.
Yeah.
And a developer who I'm pretty close to, he always tells me that it's complete bullshit if you blame it on the art, because one of the things that happens in the pipeline is that you first make placeholder models, placeholder assets.
Yeah.
And even if your Geralt is a fucking square running around a plane, a flat gray environment, you still can code the stuff needed to code in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I call bullshit on the fact that code is stopped by art. I think that was another one of the many lies I've been told about art. But I do say this.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, the big thing that they like to blame, CD Projekt also blamed them, the division, the department in game development that they love to blame is QA. They love to be like, QA didn't catch all the bugs. And you're like, yeah, you gave them like hardly enough time to catch the bugs. And it's a bit of a slow process. But QA is the favorite punching bag.
The thing about that, right? Blaming QA is like blaming a teacher for your child failing. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if the child has never been taught to study properly and to focus on the education, and the parents haven't picked up that the child is not studying properly or not learning as they should be, and then at the end of the day, they don't graduate from whatever school they're at, who's to blame? The teacher. Yeah. Justin, you're a teacher. You're to blame for if any of your students fail a subject that you haven't taught them or a subject that you've had influence in. The fact is, you're the teacher. You're to blame, and that's that. Because I pay you money to teach my child education, but at the same time, you also need to teach them to be smart. So, I would say that blaming the QA is just, it's ridiculous. These guys are there to help you, and if you're going to blame them, where are they getting like, yeah, you're paying them, but come on, man. Like, you really going to tell me that, oh, the QA didn't find that bug? Well, we found it now. Now the devs need to work on it. Stop bitching and get to your work.
Yeah.
Bunch of fucking babies.
Also, when you fix a bug, they find new bugs that your fix caused. And you need to fix those as well.
QA is there as a safety net, but that doesn't mean the coders can't check the code. You know, it doesn't mean that they're not allowed to, okay, well, I just implemented this. Let's run the game and see if it breaks anything.
Yeah. And now we come to our final news story. Very fun.
Indeed.
This one is a bit different to the previous ones because this time we were looking at research. The universities of Plymouth and Wolverhampton. How do you say this name? Wolverhampton. Whatever. I know they're both in the UK. They did a study on loot boxes.
I've actually heard something about this.
Yes.
Continue.
So, they did some studies and they found that loot boxes are structurally and psychologically akin to gambling. That they encourage real world gambling because it works the same way as actual gambling, and that they found a lot of children open. Let's see here. So it says they found that 93% of children play games, or 93% of the children who play games, 40% of them have open loot boxes.
Just basically targeting you. Children aren't allowed to gamble, and now you've added it into a system that has access to children. And what's even worse in that regard is that I heard about this. I heard about this last year. I heard about this with that big Battlefront scandal.
This happens over and over again.
I heard about it then, and I still stand by my thing where it's like I agree fully. It's gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the essentials of one of the most addictive game genres in the world, which is the gacha game, because that is basically gambling simulator.
Yeah. But do you happen to remember what EA called loot boxes? When it was, I think it was something called Ultimate Team. Oh, this was in FIFA. They called them. They would have no. It's not gambling. Of course not. It's surprise mechanics.
Oh, yes, I did hear about that. The surprise mechanics, yes.
The surprise mechanics of gambling your money on things that you might not get. So, yeah. And they also... Because, like, one of because I've seen a lot of... I've watched videos and stuff about people who have actual gambling disorder. And they have spoken about how, like, video games were a thing that were really, really, like, really good for them. Because it plays on similar kind of feelings, or some games. But when loot boxes came in, that's like actual money. That's like actual gambling. So they like, well, shit, I turn to games to escape my gambling addiction, and it came for me. So,
but that's aggressive marketing.
Oh yeah,
that's that corporations need more money, so the best way to incorporate it is the best system for taking people's money without having to give them shit.
Yeah,
gambling.
But yeah,
I mean, even gambling's hard coded in. I mean, most systems, like you said, most systems are geared to be better. Especially when it comes to AI. Sure, not all AI are smart enough or have that intensity, but think about this. I mean, even back in the day when they needed to make the game difficult, they just gave the AI cheats to make it difficult for us.
Yeah.
And even then, that's gambling. It's the odds are weighted against you.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to win on hardest difficulty. If you do, you get an achievement. If you don't, you spend money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, the sort of the gambly sort of nature really started in arcades in the 80s, where they were like, we're going to make these extremely difficult games. And the only reason they're hard is because we want more coins out of you. We want you to keep putting in coins. And then when you die, you're like, I put in more coins. It's almost as if they've always been evil.
I would say, like, it's not a big surprise that they found out that the loot boxes or surprise mechanics is gambling. I mean, they've even banned. I think they're writing bills against banning loot boxes in the US.
Yeah,
and it's
and
finally come to a thing where people are it's like people are realizing that it's bad. Like, you hear the stories, like, child maxes out parents' credit card.
Yeah.
Now, you'd be like, oh yeah, stupid parents, how could they let the child do? But if you're in the situation where you had somebody take your credit card, maxed it out, now you know you're going to be paying this all back, right? And then max it out on something that's non-refundable. And the biggest problem is that the child's allowed to access these things, and the parents are too lazy to put in measures. I mean, there was that child. He wanted to brag that he was allowed to buy V-Bucks for Fortnite off his parents' credit card, right?
Yeah.
He bragged about it. The parents bought in the V-Bucks, and they thought that was that. Then it turned out that the account was still linked to the credit card. So the child bought a little bit more V-Bucks. He got into trouble for that, right? Fine. Trouble, didn't max out the credit card. He just bought a little bit more than he was supposed to. The one thing the parents didn't do is, do it themselves. Because the child bragged about the credit card on a YouTube video, and he showed both the front and the back of the card in the YouTube video, bragging about how he's going to get so much skins and dances. So after the incident where they delinked the account, people started buying things using their credit card, and a lot of things, and maxed it out. So, yeah. I just think that any game that allows you to link up a credit card to the game is bad, or any sort of payment scheme through the game. The launcher is a different thing entirely for me, but the game itself, I believe that any game that has a direct real world account linked to it is being too aggressive.
Yeah.
I would buy it out inside the store, no problem. Like, if I ever have offspring and they are in Steam, I'm buying them Steam wallet money. I'm not allowing them to hook up my card.
Yeah.
To anything.
Well, I mean,
I will buy you currency.
That's actually my thing that I do. I don't have my card linked up to my Steam. I buy wallet an amount every now and then for like a sale, and then I buy a bunch of things, and then I don't use it anymore because I have extreme irrational fear that someone will somehow get a hold of my card information, and I'm like, that shit ain't happening to me. I put in my card information every time. Which is only slightly pedantic.
I mean, I like to regularly change my passwords, update them. With my PIN numbers on my cards, there's only one person that knows them. Well, other than me, and that's my wife. Other than that, and they're all random. I refuse to use any cards that I will remember easy. I will sit and learn the PIN that was given to me because it is the most random PIN number I could come up with.
Yeah.
And that's why I learn it. And like I said, them declaring that this thing is a form of gambling is no surprise to me. The only surprise is that these fuckers were allowed to get away at targeting kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, it's what they do. Well, the thing is, what they want ultimately are whales, or so-called whales. People who... You know what a whale is?
Whales are, like fish, but they're the ones that are going to pay. When you hook it, it's going to pay.
Yeah.
It's going to bring in the money. Yeah.
Those are the people that they, want ultimately. Yeah. It's a fun old industry. greatest industry in the world, Tristan.
It's healing, okay? There's been some bad, some really bad, but it's healing. And I think people are starting to become, like you get street smarts, I know there's not a lot of smarts out there on the interwebs, but I know that people are getting smarter. They're getting to know that these things can happen, and the only person's fault is you for not educating yourself. Like, who do you blame if there's a hacker? Or, I'm not a hacker, but who do you blame if you're one of those people that get redirected to one of those fake Windows repair? There's a virus on your computer sites, and you invite an Indian person into your computer. That's your fault. Because you weren't clued up.
I like that. It had to be an Indian person. It's probably more likely to be a Russian.
No. The reason why I say it is because one of the YouTubers I watch, Jim Browning, he does this whole reverse scamming. Well, not reverse scamming.
Fucks with scammers.
Yeah, he messes with scammers. And unfortunately, all his episodes that I've watched, which he has quite a few of, have been Indian scammers. And I think either he specializes in Indian scams, but the thing what he does is he will be on his computer, he will see a redirect, he will follow it, and you'll see this site. And it just so happens that the person he calls has an Indian accent, and it's a sad thing, but you're most likely to get an Indian guy calling himself Paul, trying to convince you that he's a pure blood American with a thick Indian accent.
Well, still fun. I mean, it's one of the things though where you were like, I know, but it's getting better, and immediately I'm like, 1 year later, episode, 64, and I'm like, so Tristan, have you heard the news? EA has started eating babies. It has begun. We should have known when Battlefront 2 happened, but we ignored the signs. And now, the end times has begun.
I mean, if you think of it like that, it could go that way. It really could. It could also be like, so in later news, Microsoft has ended up purchasing EA games. Yes, Electronic Arts is now owned by Microsoft. Who also is funding the US elections this year.
Sony's
gone mad and has invaded China, claiming that the land belonged to them.
The civil war between Sony and Konami.
Sony is no longer a game development company. It is actually a sort of military for hire.
Well, you know what?
And
you know what? One of their exclusives was Metal Gear Solid, which is about weapons for hire, mercs for hire.
Now you can get Metal Gear Solid themed dildos in every purchase of a Sony PlayStation 8. On further news, Nintendo has released a new Mario. This one will include, but not limited to, having a Zelda skin and a Link skin inside Mario.
They've probably already done that, Tristan. They have done that.
But that's the joke. We're here to celebrate Metroid. Metroid's birthday, which is sometime, but more importantly, Mario's theme park is now opened up in the US. It's now called Mario Land. Nintendo has decided that they do not wish to put any other characters inside the theme park, so they just went with the obvious choice, Mario.
So that eventually it'll just be Legend of Mario, and it'll be Marioid.
Or it could go worse. It could go completely worse. It could be like, Nintendo has released the latest version of M. As you all know, we call it M because certain people on the internet have complained about the stereotypical imagery of Mario. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'll apologize. Okay, I'm gonna write a full report. I'm gonna post it on Twitter, and please don't fire me.
Well, hey, it's fine. You can make jokes about Italians because they're Italians. Who cares?
And Mario's not even Italian.
No, well, yeah, he's from Brooklyn, which I mean, okay, if you can make fun of Americans, who cares? Fair.
I mean, what can they do while they goggle their milk? Scream at you.
But that is the news, I believe.
Indeed.
And so that probably is where we'll wrap things up. Unless you have anything else of note.
I do have a bit of a review.
Okay.
But you know what? I'll tease and I'll leave that for the next episode.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Well then, this has been LC Lupus with my co-host, the beautiful, the luscious, the voluptuous Tristan.
I think you just called me fat in 3 different languages.
No, voluptuous means you have nice big breasts, Tristan. So, I love your breasts. They're beautiful. You shouldn't hide them all the time.
I don't hide them.
Okay.
They kind of fold in on themselves. It's how it happens.
You're beautiful. It's fine. All right. So, do you have anything to plug, or still not yet?
Nope.
All right.
Still, nothing to plug on my end as of late.
Disgusting. Well, on my side, my blog is now done. On Friday, the final thing is coming out, and the blog is done. So you can find me instead on YouTube at LC Lupus, on Twitter at LC_Lupus. And that's about it. And here. But if you're already here, I don't think I need to tell you about where to find this. So, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Great. You are amazing at plugs.
I am amazing at plugs. I did fail the plumbing course, but I'm pretty good at them. I know how to put them in. I know how to use the tail ones. You also get the plastic ones that, you know, you get the ones that are more for like size queens, and you get the ones that are a bit smaller. You know.
You also get those weird ones that stay in, even though they just, you push them and they release a bit, and you push them back and then they close.
You see, you're talking about actual plugs. I was going on a tangent about butt plugs, but it's all cool.
No. I was also there.
Okay, good.
I just think that we browse on different sites, but it's fine.
Well, all right, good sir. So, ta-ta to everyone.
Take care.
And
thank you for watching this lengthy episode.
Exactly. And as per usual, I love you. Mwah.
I've got nothing to say to you anymore. Goodbye.